Okay, so if you're someone who creates content of any kind, and I mean for your job, for your brand, even just for yourself, you need to know that the ground has completely shifted beneath our feet. This isn't just some small update. It's a total paradigm change. And today we're going to break down exactly what that means for all of us.
So let me ask you a question, and I want you to be honest with yourself. Is your content strategy obsolete? I know that sounds harsh, but the rules that we played by for the last 10 years, chasing visibility, getting traffic, trying to go viral, they've been totally rewritten by generative AI. Seriously, what worked yesterday is already starting to feel irrelevant.
And this right here is the absolute heart of the matter. We are moving from a world where the goal was exposure, just getting as many human eyeballs on your stuff as possible, to a completely new world where the goal is citation. It's no longer just about being seen, it's about being used as source material for AI itself.
All right, so to really get a handle on the new rules, we've got to take a quick look back at the world we're leaving behind. Let's call it the era of exposure, where grabbing human attention was pretty much the only game in town.
For what feels like forever, every single content strategy, every meeting, every decision, it all boiled down to this one simple question: how visible is it? Success was just a numbers game, measured by reach and how often people saw your stuff.
And of course, that one question led to a whole playbook, right? We all learned it. We became experts in SEO. We obsessed over social media algorithms. We stared at our page view dashboards. And we all tried to reverse engineer content that just might, go viral. That was the playbook.
But here's the thing. There was a huge flaw in that whole model. The value of your content wasn't really yours. It was temporary, and it was completely at the mercy of platform algorithms. Google, Facebook, you name it. They controlled who saw your work, which meant they controlled its value.
And then everything changed. Generative AI walks onto the scene, acting as this new powerful go-between, and it has brought with it a totally new set of rules. So, welcome to the era of citation, where the value of what you create is decided by how useful it is to a machine. So the question we have to ask ourselves now is completely different. It's not about visibility. It's this: which documents will an AI choose to use as the raw material for the answers it generates? I mean, think about it. If your content isn't picked by the AI, for a whole lot of people, it's like it doesn't even exist. This table really nails the difference. We used to be obsessed with media, where our content shows up, which platform, but now we have to shift our focus to the medium, the actual document itself. The goal is no longer about exposure and going viral, it's about being citable and reusable.
And this is the part that really changes things. The one doing the discovering isn't a person scrolling through a feed anymore. It's an AI that is reading, filtering, and mashing up millions of documents just to create one single answer. Your new primary audience is a machine.
Okay, I get it. That's the big picture. But what do we actually do about it? How in the world do you write for an AI? Well, the answer is to start thinking of yourself less like a writer and more like an information architect, someone who designs documents specifically for machines to understand.
It's easy to think of AI as this big, magical black box, but it's not. It's actually a pretty straightforward, almost mechanical process. First, it selects the most relevant documents it can find. Then, it decomposes them, breaking them down into little chunks of information. And finally, it recomposes those chunks into a brand new answer: selection, decomposition, recomposition.
And because it's a machine, it has very clear preferences. It's like a picky eater. It actively avoids things like vague topics, long rambling intros, and scattered information. On the other hand, it absolutely loves clear topics, getting the key info right up front, logical structure, and paragraphs that make sense all on their own. For an AI, clarity and structure are everything.
All right, principle number 1, and this is a big one. Focus on just one question. So a title like Pros and Cons of Remote Work, Productivity Tips, and Team Collaboration Tools, that's just too messy. The AI gets confused. But a title like 5 Ways to Improve Productivity in Remote Work, that's specific, it's focused, and it's practically designed for an AI to grab it.
Principle number 2 is super simple, something they teach you in journalism school. Don't bury the lead. An AI figures out the core meaning from the very first few paragraphs. So you've got to put your main point, your key definition, whatever it is, right there at the top.
And number 3, you have to start thinking of structure as your secret weapon. Using things like numbered steps, clear subheadings, and tables. That's not just to make it look nice for humans anymore. Those are essential signposts that help a machine break down your information correctly and use it.
So when you step back and look at all this, you realize it's not just about changing a few tactics. It's a totally new way of thinking about what we're even making. We're moving away from creating disposable content and toward building permanent, valuable assets. This shift is just fundamental. It's a move from writing based on emotion to designing based on architecture. We're going from creating consumable content that's here today, gone tomorrow, to building referenceable documents that last. It's leaving behind viral writing for what you might call reference writing.
Look, if there's one line from this whole thing that you write down and stick on your monitor, it's this: AI selects clear information, not beautiful prose. That beautiful, flowery writing you're so proud of might get completely ignored if it's not built on a rock-solid foundation of clarity and structure.
So, for years, we all lived and breathed SEO, right? Search engine optimization. Well, welcome to the age of GEO, Generative Engine Optimization. And the goal is incredibly simple. Design your documents so that AI can select them, cite them, and use them. The goal is reference, plain and simple.
And this is where the new competitive advantage lies. Winning is not about who can shout the loudest anymore. It's about who can build the clearest, most structured, and most useful library of information that AI will turn to again and again and again.
So that leaves us with one last question. A question you really need to ask yourself about everything you create from now on. In this new world, this age of AI, is what you're making a valuable, referenceable asset, or is it just becoming part of the noise?